don't like to be bored. That's usually when my mind starts racing, I get restless, or like worst case, I start having negative thoughts and self-doubt creeps in. So I don't like to be bored. And I don't know about y'all, but it's really not a pleasant experience. But the reality is, in many care settings, people with dementia spend hours doing nothing. And this is for a variety of reasons, but they're spending hours doing nothing. And that boredom and discomfort shows up as either agitation or bad behavior. Our current instinctual systemic response to this is to try to wrangle it in, try distraction, or fall to medication. But is there an easier way to create meaningful engagement and hold on a little bit longer to that mental connection? This is AI powered caregiving, and I'm Ishanya Anthapur from Zemplee. At Zemplee, we're thinking deeply about how technology, AI, design, and data can support aging with dignity. Today, I'm joined by our guest, Angela Fairhurst, founder and CEO of Geri-Gadgets, a company that's creating these lovely sensory tools designed to calm and engage people living with dementia. An easy way to create meaningful engagement. Angela's journey is especially unique. She started in TV and storytelling and production, but through her own caregiving experience has transformed that creativity into something deeply physical, therapeutic, and entrepreneurial. I'm so excited to dive into our conversation with our superstar guest, Angela. Welcome to AI Powered Caregiving.
Wow, thank you for such a nice intro. I loved it. I loved your lead. It was great. Boredom is
you know, we
one of the
we try to do our research here at AI Powered Caregiving.
it's a
We
great
love our
job.
guests. Thank
Thank you.
you. So I'm so curious, Angela. Tell us, you reinvented yourself, your career from working in TV, working in production, working in Hollywood to becoming a healthcare entrepreneur. I mean, how did you go from that? How did you make that shift happen?
I don't think any of us do it on purpose. My mom got dementia, and as an executive in charge of television production, like you mentioned, I was a problem solver. So there was a problem, and I was determined to solve it. And it actually took a while. But so my mom was early diagnosed incorrectly with Alzheimer's when she had Lewy body dementia. And this is back in 2010. We're looking at a long time ago. And it wasn't until 2014 that she was properly diagnosed. And in that wild ride in between was antipsychotic medications, which you so mentioned because her behaviors. And it just made things worse. I mean, really worse. Those turned into 7 hospitalizations. It was
Oh my
kind of
God.
a wild ride. Yet when she was finally properly diagnosed, the behaviors still existed from fear, from lack of being able to communicate, from what you mentioned. It's like boredom too, all of it. So she would bite sometimes and kick sometimes because she was so frightened. That was where it started when I saw a sensory need and she was rubbing shiny magazine paper in her fingers. That was the turning point because then I was like, oh my God, I started bringing toys. And when
Mm.
you bring all these toys, they're from the children's department. So they're infantilizing, they're like made for children, or they're too complicated, toxic when put in the mouth, or just not washable. Like I tried fabric, I tried everything. It actually, I can tell you the origin story and show you the products now if you like. But
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to get a look at the products. And, I've read that some products just don't work. Like you mentioned, they're not washable or they're fabric and they break. You mentioned something with like putty or clay and it would just kind of dissolve. So, what gave you the idea to build Geri-Gadgets as it is?
it's interesting because so here's the fidget gadget bucket. It's the beginning. I know you see it backwards in TV. um my I brought one of those buckets that had the shapes from little kids, had a triangle and a circle. Well, she couldn't get my mom could had a clenched hand, so getting the shape exactly into the hole that it fit in was too complicated actually. But the dopamine created by the curiosity of opening the bucket made me come up with I love the bucket idea. What can I put in there that's safe? because crayons turned into lipstick for my mom. And I know some people don't mouth things, but a lot of them do. And also, it's just, but the filth that happens with fabrics and stuffed animals and things like that, or materials like wood that are too hard on the skin that gets so delicate. That's where the problem began. So not everything that I was finding, even those fidget toys, they had goo inside, so you'd buy a cheap one, or even, or even $7 or something. It lasts one session. So I found the answer in my own kitchen, because at the time in 2014, silicone started to be an ingredient, a material that was really used in the kitchen. So I had a sill pad and a spatula, and I had a pot holder that was bigger than this, and I cut it down to about this size, and I took it to my mom, and she is patting on it like this, and she loved the sound. And then when we threw it back and forth like a frisbee, everything changed. It was like so heartwarming. And I'm like, okay, now I know I'm onto something. The sales guy next to me, his name is Jeremy. He's since passed on. Otherwise, I'd have a co founder. Actually, we used to ideate every Saturday. He was like, oh my God, I can't believe how this worked. So the fidget items were first. And there's some of them look familiar. Like we all know poppers, but here's high quality ones made for us. And this triangle shape is really good for exercising the hands and arms. And this click chain makes great sound because we had it engineered where it's not going to pull apart, and where the sound is kind of going to remind you of cracking ice or walking on fall leaves or something. I don't know. What does it remind you of? But it also keeps somebody busy. I mean, you can't go over the head. I've seen somebody, honestly, like do it like horseshoes with this. And that was from somebody who suggested it with dementia, which is pretty awesome. You go, there's no limitation to someone's creativity. And this is the tugger. It's got elastic and straws, and it's really fun for exercising the hands and arms. And one person can do it,
Yeah.
two persons can do it. But, if you can be right or left-handed or one-handed if you have to. So that's kind of fun, and it bounces and stuff. And then, there's the squishy egg, which is, I call it the Goldilocks, not too big, not too small, not too hard, not too soft. And there's no goo inside. So this is bite proof. So everything in the
Yeah.
Geri-Gadgets line is dishwasher safe, mouse safe, super durable, high quality. It's ready for an institutional environment so that it'll never wear out. So
I
that's
think,
where the fidget bucket came.
wow. I mean, what really stands out to me is that you started with something like trying out children's toys. Because I think some people out there might say, well, there's already toys on the market and like I can just go get kids' toys. But what's so curious is these gadgets are designed for people that have already lived a full life. They have memories of interacting with things, they have memories to draw upon. Whereas kids' toys are a bit different. You're trying to teach them something, right? It's like a new experience out of that toy. So I think it's
Yeah,
really important to design with the older population in mind. And that's what your Geri-Gadgets have done. They're not just taking kids' toys and making them more durable, it's really designed with intention and purpose for someone that's lived a life, someone that has a clenched hand, someone that is strong enough to poke through one of those balls. But, I've interacted with some kids' toys, they're really hard. Because kids can take that kind of
yeah,
they might get injured. It's more possible for them to recover. So
yeah.
I'm
Their
I'm really
skin is more
fascinated.
durable too. Yeah, it's true. And you're so right about. I mean, they're bright for the aging eye, but they're not primary colors. It's very specific that you see that they're bright, so they're attractive. And they're not childish. So it was really about giving that respect. My mom was a school teacher. You hand something like, here's a teddy bear. I mean, look, I like stuffed animals too, but I think that some people will just throw them out because they're like, but I'm not a kid. They know they're still in there. Also, everything is so intentional. My uncle was a florist in Los Angeles, where I grew up. And so I did the flower bucket, which is bright yellow and pretty, and they're tulips. And I say they're symbolic because tulips rise with the sun. And then we
That's
have
beautiful.
seeds, and there's no wire inside. And then the vase. So people can make an arrangement like this, but what's beautiful and different is it's about having multiple things to do. So this is super durable and reinforceable. So like to say they can be silly with it, and the vase is
Yeah.
reinforced so that, anything they can go in and out. Like, it's easy to be silly and have more fun with it than what is expected. And that's also the beauty of Geri-Gadgets is they're failure free. There's no wrong answer. So this is art. This is my mom, like I said, she made a crayon into lipstick. And
Yeah.
so that it was dangerous. And she used to paint, oil paint, like acrylic paint. She was watercolors. She was so brilliantly talented, yet she still wanted to express some artistic creativity. So you could do that with things like this. And then the
That's
third
great.
bucket that I have is the shapes bucket. And I was inspired by Tetris. Remember Tetris? Well, Tetris is an electronic game. So there's two of every color. And then texture is really important, because it's soothing. So here's the stars on one side, like the logo has stars in it, and then there's a smooth surface, and there's two of everything here. So there's no wrong answer with any of these pieces. So if somebody is further along, they'll lay it flat, maybe match a color or shape because there's two of every. So you can have that. They can, but then if somebody is more dexterous, they can certainly create a structure that is, these even will sit on an angle. So you can build a house, you can build, play like dominoes, anything that is possible. Now I'm balancing this, but it's really quite fun. And this is awesome for multi-generational interaction too, or group activities, because, you can get, oh, how long can you make it? How tall can you make it? What kind of shapes can you create? And it doesn't, and so it's again the fun of being able to have endless possibilities and that sense of accomplishment no matter what you do. And even if somebody just puts it in their mouth, that's engagement. That counts.
Yes.
The scientific part of it, I didn't know when I started that silicone is the closest material to human skin. So it
Yeah.
automatically, it soothes anyway, it calms immediately. And then when you engage with somebody, so now I said, oh, yeah, remember the dopamine that's created by the curiosity of opening the bucket? Well, when we engage with somebody, even 15 minutes, we give them those love and hug chemicals of oxytocin and serotonin. And so that can last a couple days. So a 15-minute interaction is beneficial for time, so they can stay happy and have some quality of life and for a little bit longer than the session. That we don't have to be present for every single moment of it, but if we get them started, it's good to get them
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
Yeah, and I imagine that this is like some of the, and there's so many reasons. Caregivers are busy, they are overworked. We all know that. Whether you're a personal caregiver or a professional, we understand you're busy and overworked, but this type of engagement, do you think it has better kind of releases those happier chemicals more than turning on the TV and even if
Oh,
they put on a favorite show or whatever?
television's very passive, and you were saying there's so much time that people don't do anything. I mean, they'll sit them in the hallway, okay, or in front of a window maybe to look
Right.
outside and watch, but that is so passive. That just signals loneliness to me. It's that engagement factor that's so necessary. And once somebody gets started with it, they're not going to go over and pick it up themselves, mind you. You have to put it, you have to engage to begin with. But then once they're engaged, they're safe. They're safe
Yeah.
from picking up. They're safe from putting it in their mouth. And that gives the caregiver that relief to go and take care of other tasks, cleaning or cooking, or even going to the bathroom and having a break,
Yeah.
safely. And then also, like, this is water safe. So a shower or a bath is really great with this. And honestly, traveling with it. So in a car, on an airplane, in a restaurant where somebody might take a loved one out and they're playing with the salt and pepper and the sugar packets and all this stuff,
Right.
it's better to have a Geri-Gadgets bucket because it's a whole lot safer and less you know
Yeah,
disturbing,
less messy in the end. And, you can
disruptive.
dishwash.
It's
It's all
disruptive at all.
dishwasher safe, right? It's all
Yeah.
dishwasher safe.
Hmm.
So that's great. If they drop it on the floor, you can pick it up, take it home, wash it, good to go.
Yep. In between, you can use a wipe to clean it, and then it doesn't matter if you don't have a dishwasher. Soap and water work too, in the sink. But it's great. But dishwasher really gets everything great. And I recommend the small parts on the top, but it doesn't matter. It's good.
I do have a question. So you said, like, did you notice that your own mom was experiencing these bouts of like boredom or agitation, and you kind of see that that was dangerous in a way for her?
Well, I mean, she was. It's true. What I said is, she got more and more isolated, and that's when she would act out. And I think most of the time that behaviors aren't really, they're identified as bad behaviors, but they're really that struggle to communicate, that struggle to engage, that struggle to not be bored, and to just have something to do. My mom was not the person that would sit in front of a television. So then she would get up and then fall. Those were dangerous. That was like, so it was solving all those problems besides me wanting to connect with her. I mean, but the magic was that we did have these beautiful, meaningful moments of connection that I didn't have for 4 years before. That was the heart of it and the prize of it that really made it amazing. And that's probably the thing that drove me to go to market, was that emotional side of it, and how if I can have that with my mom even in later stages, anyone can. And then you can feel better about meeting someone where they are and just being there in the present moment, and having those small, but smaller big interactions that you can know that they're having some quality of life. It's really important.
Yeah, that sounds, they say that I've heard this advice that when you go on a date, it's really to take the edge off of things. It's good to have an activity to do, something small. So, like, coloring or not just
Yeah.
walking and talking, but having an activity. And I feel like this kind of takes that place in terms of the caregiving world because what if you were coming, even you're a family member, you're trying to visit with your loved one, and it might be awkward to see them go through these phases. They're changing, they're becoming more reliant on you, less self-reliant. It's just awkward. Like, the truth of the matter is it's awkward, it's change, we're all unused to it. But having something there in the room to be like, hey, let's do this together, let's open up this box, let me help you arrange the flowers, grandma or mom. I think it's
Yeah.
just beautiful. And you
You're,
mentioned there's a lot of multi-generational opportunities. Have you seen that come up as
yeah, no,
well?
I mean, you're talking like, it's so great when you visit, because now you don't have to say, hey, well, I was in her like, hey, mom, it's Angela, it's your daughter Angela, so that she didn't have to try and discover, who am I? But all of that's eliminated because you don't need language. So exactly what you said is you can enter and go, hey, so nice to see you. Like, look what I have here. And then just start the engagement there, because they tend to warm up. It takes a little time to warm up, and then it comes out, and then they're
Yeah.
comfortable. And then sometimes even nonverbal people are talking that never talked and exercising their hands and arms and haven't been. And it's just, I know, magical. It's nothing short of that, really. So you're
Yeah.
absolutely right, how it really makes a huge difference, and it does take the edge off, just like you said. That's a great analogy, and that was also something I didn't really realize was so important for other people to really understand, because most people don't even know that short-term memory is 30 seconds long. Most people don't know, expect and get frustrated with somebody because they've repeated themselves. Oh, I just told you, don't you remember? And truthfully, we wouldn't be yelling or getting frustrated with somebody with cancer. We don't like that they have it in all states. We're not happy about that. But we become a little more patient, and we become a little more understanding of that it really is a disease. It is not something that they can help. And is a diminishing return. People do go through stages and get worse, but at each stage, you can find a way to connect. Like I said, even if it's putting a Geri-Gadget in, doesn't matter. That's where the beauty is, like, oh my God, they're doing something that they wouldn't normally do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we all, like I said, I don't like to be bored. And when I'm 83, I don't want to be bored then either.
Yeah. Well, I
So,
find that all these fidget items, people without dementia are fidgeting with them.
yeah.
I, I think fidgeting is focus. I think it's great to have something occupying your hands. I think that especially, if there is a lecture and you're a student and you're bored,
Yeah.
Well, if you actually have something that you're fidgeting with, you're going to pay more attention to the lecture, and you're going to tend not to go into your phone, which a lot of people do. Go into their electronics, or they start answering emails on the computer while the anything like that. So I think fidget does equal focus.
If you zoom out, what do you think that now that you're in the care industry, both as a caregiver and as an entrepreneur and a business person, how did your background in production and creativity affect your path as a CEO? Do you find that the skills are useful, that there's some crossover? Do you have any advice for others who are maybe thinking, hey, I have an idea, I have a need, I have a problem, but I'm nervous. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to be CEO in healthcare, let alone. Do you have any advice and
Yeah,
reflections
you know
that
what?
way?
Honestly, I mean, if you believe in something, you can get there. I didn't know the answers to everything, but as a problem solver, as a producer, the line from A to B is never straight. It's about figuring it out. And how, and I wouldn't know the answers to everything. I certainly didn't. But I know how to ask questions, and I know how to do research and find the answers. So who knew that I was going to know anything about manufacturing or distribution or fulfillment or tooling or any of it. I mean, I had the creative
Right.
idea. I could do a drawing. I had a graphic artist. Oh, I didn't know you need a CAD drawing to have it tooled. You know what that is? No. Like, oh, now I do. A step. It's called step file. But like these things are terms that I didn't even know. And when I started, I didn't know the difference between a skilled nursing facility, a private pay, a CCRC. None of it. I didn't know memory care. Like I had no idea. And what roles people played in the system and what their titles were. I didn't know anything. So it's all, but that's where the caregiving world specifically is very embracing, and they do educate and tell you and make it you feel welcome and comforting. So, but for anybody that has an idea, it's about believing in yourself, not giving up. And when it comes to sales, by the way, it takes 7 touch points before somebody buys. So you can't, most people give up after 1 or 2. That's not how you can become successful. By giving up doesn't work. So it's believing and knowing and actually being open to feedback, being able to pivot, listening. All those things are important because you don't know what you don't know when you start.
Then you found that in the caregiving world, people will help you find out the answers to what you don't know. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
I think people are really open to giving advice. And I think that that's helped me get some traction, actually. Definitely.
That's amazing. So speaking of touch points, who in the caregiving world is kind of your target for Geri-Gadgets? Is it directors of nursing, admins, caregivers themselves?
Well, a lot of caregivers, but I'm finding a lot of success among OTs and PTs. Adult daycares are great because they are there for activity sessions specifically too, and that group activities, singular ones too. It works really well, obviously, in memory care. But also, I found that the neurodivergent population loved them too because ADHD, autism, all have a similar goal of calming and connecting. So it's expanded the reach like by a lot that I didn't. I knew they were going to be great for kids, but I didn't know to the extent of which older kids. We're talking about there's plenty of stuff for babies, but when we get past that, users are like, if it's not electronics, then what is it? So
Yeah,
I wanted to provide stuff like that,
that's
and all of
amazing.
these are give you activities to do. It's not just something to look at like sitting on a shelf. So that's a pretty ornament. So everything is
Yeah.
structured to do something with it.
Yeah, I can see your vision. I can see it expanding. Fidgets for people my age are very popular, so I can see it really, really taking off. And I'm so excited for you and so honored that you wanted to come onto our show and speak about Geri-Gadgets. It's an amazing invention, people. Go look up their website. If people want to look up, where can they find you? Where can they find Geri-Gadgets?
They can find them at Geri-Gadgets.com with or without the dash. The Geri-Gadgets, though, if they want to go direct to Shopify, I have Geri-Gadgets.com, so they can bypass the website and just buy them without looking up stuff. But Instagram and YouTube give ideas again, but everything stems from the website. They are available in Canada, the UK, Australia, New Zealand. So if somebody's from those states, that actually happens to be countries, not states, that happen to be tuning in, they can find those on the distributors page on my website too, and go and get them from there. So it's, we're expanding.
That's great. You're on all the socials. We love to see
By the way,
that.
new on Amazon.
Ooh, Amazon. Oh my God. Okay, that's a huge
That's
win. That's
really,
super
really
easy.
easy. And they're priced the same. The only difference is, obviously, uh, they don't have a set of three on Amazon, either one by one by one. On my website, the set of three has a discount too. So that's the
Oh, there you
difference.
go. Well, if you want the discount, head to the website. Otherwise, easily accessible on Amazon and across many countries. Um, Angela, we have some quick rapid fire questions just to wrap it up. What is one thing, if you could wave a magic wand, that you would change about aging in America?
I think the perception, the perspective, attitude, because people think that old people are something to put in a corner or lock away. And they really do have something to give and still be present and quality of life and all that stuff. So I think that's probably one of the most important things that I would change, is that.
Definitely, definitely. And I think that the perception is, I mean, there's what happens when you need long-term care. That's one version of aging. Then there's just aging in general. What happens when you hit 65, 70 when you're supposed to retire, quote unquote,
Yeah.
or 73, right? Like the perception around all of those age points definitely
Yeah,
needs to shift.
ageism shouldn't happen. Should just, there's always somebody to give something, and even when they're not well, it doesn't mean that they're not present. So it's a general problem. I mean, the healthcare system obviously needs reinventing too, because it's so slow to have things happen. But if we change our perspective first, and really have open arms to change, and to making connection and things like that happen, then I think that it'll trickle into the healthcare system too.
Yeah, definitely. We got to drive the changes there.
I think so.
Um, okay, what is one of your favorite books or a book that you would recommend? Could be aging or just
Well,
random.
it's so funny though, because like, I don't know, for if the audience are dealing with people with dementia or caregiving, honestly, I want to recommend is the Grief Recovery Handbook, actually, because my dad was dying at the same time. He had lung cancer and he died in 10 weeks, the same time my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, misdiagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so, and also, anytime you have a career shift or a relationship change or anything, this Grief Recovery Handbook was really quick read and give you exercises about letting go and actually coming into the present, because we can't change the past. Like you said, we can only change our perspective. And so that actually let me let go of that. I read things like, of course, Mel Robbins, it was like, was a recent
Yes.
read. But so I read in the morning, I'll read something that is of significance, like learning something. That's the only time I'll watch news too. In the evening, I read fluff. Like I'm reading a romance book. I like that. There's a woman that goes to Italy. It's kind of like the modern day, you know, from New York to Italy, because she has Italian roots and had never traveled before. So I'm kind of on that one right now. But
Gotcha.
fun. I try and empty the brain of all the day.
Stressors and stuff. That's a healthy practice. But the Grief Recovery Handbook sounds fascinating and like a great read with exercises. What is a TV show or movie or piece of media that you would highly recommend as well?
Oh gosh, it's so funny. I mean, I love British procedurals and stuff like that. I mean, I saw everything this year because I, being from television, I'm a member of the Directors Guild, Producers Guild, and Television Academy, so I get access to a lot of things, even sometimes pre-released. But it was really, I loved Rental Family, and nobody really, it didn't show up in the Oscars. Like, it was such a heartfelt thing. basically is kind of the loneliness becomes family. That's really what I love, the theme about what's kind of particular what's going on in our society right now. So that was really fun, and I enjoyed like F1 and as out of those movies. I don't know, like, and television besides the British procedurals. Recently watched, like, I love, in Korean. It was like, yes, chef. Yeah,
Yes,
but
wait, I love that. Oh my gosh.
subtitles, it was dubbed in English. It was hilarious because the mouth doesn't work the same.
Yeah.
But just stuff that has a good story, and I'm trying to keep it simple at night type thing. But I don't even get to watch that much television. I'm busy. Anyway, so fun.
So from you, we've got Rental Family, which sounds fascinating. F1, exciting. And then Yes Chef, K-drama extraordinaire. Love
Yeah,
it.
it's like, yeah, well, like, yeah, so funny. Yeah, there's a lot of Korean shows I just started to see. They're actually, pretty funny. Oh, it's good. Little romance, little whatever,
Yeah,
anything
because
fun.
we're still living our lives. We've got to keep ourselves entertained. So,
That's true. And something that, yeah, I don't want to be in work mode all the time. I work really hard, so
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but it's worth it.
I
I
mean,
can just tell you, it's so, like, I can't imagine retirement because I don't golf. No, I do. My me time is going to the gym, and I have two adult children, and and that's where I am now in New York, with my daughter, and uh, but it's really important. I like to cook and do, organize. Believe it or not, I love that. Um, it's cathartic. Get rid of something, and that's a good thing too. I love that. Giving, when you give, you get. So love that.
yes. Well, I think that comes through perfectly in the wonderful business you've created. You are literally giving back to people based off your own experience, but you're giving back, and hopefully you're getting a lot of rewards and return out of it. And thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming onto the pod.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And oh, for your viewers, if they want to get Geri-Gadgets at geri-gadgets.com, they can enter the code CARE10 and get 10% off.
Wow, thank you, Angela. We will put that in the show notes. We'll also put it in our notes underneath the podcast. You guys can find us on YouTube, Pocket Casts, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts.
That's so cool. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in.